Count the number of people in your life who reach out to you only when they need something, not to check in, not to spend real time with you, not to give without asking, only when they need. Now count the number of times you said yes to them anyway, even when your energy was low, even when your time was already stretched, even when a small voice inside you was quietly whispering that this exchange was not equal. That number, whatever it is the size of the problem you are about to end. Being used does not happen because you are weak. It happens because you are readable. People do not target the strong and unpredictable. They target the kind, the reliable, the guilty, the ones who cannot say no without feeling like a bad person. And once someone identifies you as that kind of person, you become an unpaid resource in their life. They use you not because they are evil, but because you have quietly signaled that you are available to be used. That signal is what has to end. Machiavelli advised that a person who does not learn to be feared enough to be respected will always be treated as a servant by those who understood this rule earlier. That warning cuts deep because it explains something you have felt for years without being able to name it. The people who use you are not smarter than you, they just understood something you were never taught. Kindness without boundaries is not kindness. It is a menu, and people will keep ordering from that menu until you close the kitchen. This video will not tell you to cut everyone off. It will not tell you to become cold or cruel. It will give you something more useful. It will show you the exact 7 mechanisms that turn a decent person into someone others use without guilt. Each one is operating in your life right now. Each one is invisible until it is named. And each one can be reversed with a single shift in behavior that costs you nothing to apply. At the end, the people currently using you will start to feel a shift they cannot explain. Some of them will pull back. Some will get uncomfortable. A few will try harder to hold on. That reaction is the confirmation that what you are about to learn actually works. Because the systems that made you usable were the systems keeping them comfortable. Take away the system, and the comfort disappears with it. Some of what comes next will hit close to home. Stay with it. That closeness is not a coincidence. It is the reason this problem has lasted as long as it has. And it is the reason ending it will change more of your life than you currently expect. Before we go further, type this in the comments. My kindness is not a menu. Number 1. Stop responding immediately to every request. The people who use you have trained you into a specific reflex. When they reach out, you respond fast. When they ask, you answer quickly. When they need, you become available almost instantly. This speed feels like being a good person. It feels like being responsive, reliable, considerate. But underneath, something else is happening. Your fast response is the signal that tells them you can be moved at their pace. And once they know they can move you at their pace, they stop respecting yours. Most people never notice how much of their being used is created by their own response time. They think the problem is the person asking. It is not. The problem is that the asking gets rewarded instantly. There is no friction. There is no pause. There is no moment where the other person has to sit with their request and consider whether it was reasonable. You remove all of that by responding right away. And a request that never meets friction is a request that will keep coming back, larger and more frequent, until it becomes a permanent expectation. Notice what happens inside you when a message arrives from someone who often asks for things. There is a tension, a small internal pressure that says, respond now, do not leave them waiting, do not seem rude. That pressure is not real. It is a trained reaction from years of prioritizing other people's comfort over your own clarity. And every time you obey it, the trained reaction becomes stronger. You are not just answering a message, you are reinforcing the pattern that made you usable in the first place. A strong mind introduces delay on purpose, not to be difficult, not to play games, but to break the reflex that gave others so much control over your time and energy. When a request arrives, you do not respond immediately. You wait, sometimes minutes, sometimes hours, sometimes a full day. During that wait, something powerful happens. The other person begins to feel the weight of their own request. They start to wonder if they overstepped. They start to consider whether they really needed what they asked for. Many requests will quietly disappear before you even respond, because they were never real needs. They were reflex asks that only existed because they knew you would answer instantly. Machiavelli advised that a person who is always available teaches others that their time has no value, and once time has no perceived value, it will be spent by anyone who wants it. That is exactly what has been happening in your life. Your speed made your time feel free. Free things get consumed carelessly. Valuable things get approached with respect. The delay is not a punishment for the other person. It is a reclassification of your time from free to valuable. The practice is small but decisive. When a message arrives, you do not open it and respond in the same breath. You see it. You close it. You return to what you were doing. When the time is right for you, not for them, you respond. This one habit alone will remove a significant portion of the people who were using you, because they were only using you as long as it was convenient. The moment inconvenience enters the exchange, most users lose interest, and that loss of interest is the proof that they were never in a real relationship with you to begin with. Now drop this affirmation in the comments. My time is not on demand. Number 2. Stop explaining why you are saying no. The people who use you have learned that your no comes with a paragraph. You do not just say no, you justify it. You give context, you offer excuses. You explain your schedule, your energy, your circumstances, your reasons. You do all of this because you want them to understand that your no is not personal, that you are still a good person, that you still care about them. But every word you add to that no is a small crack the user will pry open. Because when your no comes with reasons, the reasons become negotiable. You said you were tired. They will suggest doing it later, when you have rested. You said you were busy. They will ask, when you are free. You said you cannot afford it. They will offer a smaller amount. Every explanation you provide is a door you left unlocked. And a person who is used to using you will walk through every door you leave open, no matter how politely you tried to close it. Most people believe explanations make their refusals kinder. They do not. They make the refusals weaker. They turn a decision into a discussion. They turn a boundary into a starting point for negotiation. And by the time the conversation is over, you have often ended up saying yes to a modified version of the original request, which was the goal the whole time. The user did not need you to explain. The user needed you to open the door. Your explanation opened it. A strong mind understands that a no does not need context to be valid. It is a complete answer on its own. You do not owe anyone the reasoning behind your decisions about your own time, your own energy, and your own life. The moment you accept that fact, the entire dynamic shifts. You stop treating your no as a request for approval. You start treating it as a statement of fact. And a statement of fact cannot be negotiated the way a request for approval can. Machiavelli advised that the person who over-explains their choices teaches others that their choices require permission, and once permission has been requested, it can be denied. That is what has been happening to you. Every time you explain your no, you are subtly asking the other person to accept your reasoning. When they do not accept it, You feel obligated to keep explaining. The conversation drags on, your resolve weakens, and eventually you cave because the emotional cost of continuing to defend yourself became higher than the cost of just saying yes. The practice is to shrink your no down to something small and complete. No, I cannot. That does not work for me. I am not able to help with this. Short. Warm if you want it to be warm, but complete. No paragraph after it, no apology attached, no offer of an alternative unless you genuinely want to give one. Just the answer. Then silence. Let the other person adjust to the answer. Let them sit with it. Let them decide what to do next. That silence is not rude. It is the sound of a boundary that finally holds. Now drop this message in the comments. My no is a full sentence. Number 3. Stop offering help before it is asked for. There is a specific habit that quietly makes you one of the most usable people in the room. You see someone struggling with something, and before they have even asked, you offer to help. You notice a problem, and you insert yourself into solving it. You spot a gap, and you fill it. This feels like being a caring person. It feels like being observant, generous, thoughtful. But under the surface, you are training every person around you to expect solutions from you without ever having to ask. And once that expectation is set, the moment you do not offer help, you are the one who looks selfish. This is one of the most invisible traps of being a helpful person. You built the pattern yourself, and then the pattern started using you. People no longer see your help as a gift. They see it as a baseline. It is the minimum they expect from you. And when you fall below that baseline, even a little, they experience it as a loss. Something you never owed them has been redefined as something you now cannot stop giving without consequences. Notice what happens when a helpful person has a bad week and stops offering their usual help. The people who were receiving that help do not thank them for all the previous months. They express disappointment. They ask what is wrong. They subtly guilt the person into returning to the old pattern. That reaction is proof that the help was never fully appreciated. It was tolerated as long as it flowed. The moment it stopped flowing, the true nature of the exchange became visible. It was not gratitude. It was consumption. A strong mind stops offering help before it is requested. This does not mean becoming cold. It means becoming responsive instead of preemptive. If someone needs your help, they can ask for it. If they cannot bring themselves to ask, that is important information about the situation. Maybe the help is not actually needed. Maybe the situation is not yours to solve. Maybe the person is capable of finding their own way if you stop rushing in to save them from every small difficulty. Your unrequested help was often preventing them from developing their own capacity. Machiavelli advised that generosity, given without being asked, eventually becomes an obligation the giver cannot escape, because the receiver forgets it was ever a gift. That is what makes preemptive help so dangerous. It stops being seen as help. It becomes an expectation, and expectations, once formed, are hard to reverse without creating conflict. The practice is to wait. When you see someone struggling, you do not jump in. You observe. You give them the chance to handle it themselves. You give them the chance to ask if they want support. If they ask, you decide whether to help based on your actual capacity, not your reflex to be needed. If they do not ask, you stay out of it. That restraint will feel unnatural at first. It will feel like you are being unkind. You are not. You are letting people develop the muscle of asking directly for what they want, which is a muscle they never developed because you were always volunteering the answer before the question was formed. Now drop this phrase below. My help is a choice, not a reflex. Number 4. Stop apologizing for taking up space. The people who use you have learned that you apologize for things that require no apology. You apologize for taking longer than expected to respond. You apologize for having your own plans. You apologize for saying no. You apologize for needing rest. You apologize for having preferences. You apologize for existing in a way that is inconvenient to someone else, even when your existence was not the problem. Every one of these small apologies teaches the people around you that you consider your own needs to be a burden, and once they believe that, they will treat your needs the same way. Watch what happens in a normal week. You cancel a plan and start with, "I am so sorry." You express a boundary and add, "I hope that is okay." You give an opinion and end it with, "But I could be wrong." You take a day off and feel the need to explain. Every one of these is a small self-erasure. You are not doing anything wrong, but you are speaking as though you are, and other people believe the way you describe yourself. If you consistently apologize for your presence, your preferences, and your limits, others will start to treat those things as things that need to be apologized for. Here is the pattern most people miss. The people who use you never apologize for taking your time. They ask for favors and treat it as normal. They interrupt your day and treat it as their right. They make demands and treat them as reasonable. Meanwhile, you apologize for asking anything back. This imbalance is not accidental. It is the exact dynamic they need in order to keep using you. As long as you are apologizing and they are demanding, the exchange stays lopsided in their favor. A strong mind stops apologizing for anything that does not require an apology. This is harder than it sounds. The apologies have become reflexes. They are woven into how you speak. You may not even notice yourself doing it. So the first practice is to catch it. Every time an apology starts to form in your mouth for something that was not actually wrong, you stop the sentence. You replace it with a plain statement. Instead of, "I am so sorry, I cannot make it," you say, "I cannot make it." Instead of, "I hate to bother you," you say, "I need your help with something." Instead of "sorry for the late response," you say, "Thank you for your patience." Machiavelli advised that a person who apologizes for the space they occupy trains the world to believe that space should never have been given to them. That warning is important. Every unnecessary apology is a signal to others that you believe your existence is a problem to be managed. Once that signal is broadcast, the people around you receive permission to treat you accordingly. The practice is not to become defiant or aggressive. It is to become neutral. Your no is not a crime. Your preferences are not selfishness. Your limits are not offenses. You do not need to apologize for any of them. Save your apologies for things that actually caused someone harm. Everything else is just you living your life, and your life does not require an apology. Now, comment this right now. I do not apologize for existing. Number 5. Stop treating guilt as proof that you are wrong. The people who use you have discovered your most reliable weakness, guilt. They know that if they can make you feel guilty enough, you will fold. You will say yes to something you were about to refuse. You will give something you did not want to give. You will stay in a situation you were about to leave. Guilt does the work that direct force could never do. And they have learned to trigger it in you with a look, a tone, a comment, a silence. That is why the guilt keeps working. Because you interpret it as evidence that you were about to do something wrong. You have to understand something clearly. Guilt is not proof of anything. It is a feeling, and feelings are not judges. They are signals, sometimes accurate, often not. When you feel guilty, your first assumption should not be that you did something wrong. It should be that a signal is firing, and the signal needs to be examined before it is obeyed. Most of the guilt you feel around users is not real guilt. It is trained guilt. It was installed in you by people who benefited from your compliance and knew exactly which buttons to press to get it. The people who use you are experts at manufactured guilt. They know how to phrase a request so that saying no feels cruel. They know how to describe their situation so that not helping feels selfish. They know how to remind you of past favors so that current refusals feel ungrateful. Every one of these is a technique. It may be conscious or unconscious on their part, but the effect is the same. You end up feeling guilty for a decision that was never actually wrong, and you cave to relieve the feeling. A strong mind learns to sit with guilt without acting on it. This is the shift that changes everything. When guilt arises, you do not immediately try to make it go away by giving in. You let it be there. You examine it. You ask, is this guilt telling me I actually did something harmful, or is it just uncomfortable because someone else is unhappy with my decision? Most of the time, it is the second one. Once you can see that clearly, the guilt loses most of its power. It becomes a passing feeling, not a command. Machiavelli advised that a person who obeys every emotional signal will be governed by those who learn to produce those signals on demand. That is exactly what has been happening. Users have learned which signals produce compliance in you, and they trigger those signals whenever they need something. Your job is not to eliminate the signals. Your job is to stop obeying them automatically. The practice is simple to describe and hard to do. When you feel guilty about a decision, you do not reverse the decision. You feel the guilt. You breathe through it. You wait. Guilt that is not fed by action fades within hours. Guilt that you obey, by reversing your decision, teaches your mind that guilt is the correct trigger for compliance, and it will fire more often, not less. You have to let the guilt burn itself out. And each time it does, without you giving in, the pattern gets weaker. Eventually, the users in your life will notice that guilt no longer works on you, and they will either recalibrate to a healthier dynamic or move on to someone easier to influence. Either outcome is a win for you. Drop this affirmation in the comments. Guilt is a feeling, not a verdict. Number 6. Stop keeping score only in your own head. The people who use you rarely feel used because they do not track the imbalance. They receive from you constantly and forget the specifics almost immediately. But you remember everything. You remember the times you showed up when they needed you. You remember the favors, the effort, the emotional support, the last-minute rescues. You keep the record silently, waiting for the day the balance is returned. It rarely is. And every time it is not returned, you feel a small hurt that you never say out loud, which means the person who owes you the return never even knows there is a balance to consider. This is one of the most quietly damaging patterns in a life. You do the work of tracking, they do the work of receiving, and because you never mention the imbalance, they never feel the imbalance. The relationship continues, from their perspective, as if nothing is wrong. Meanwhile, resentment builds inside you, invisible to them, corroding the connection from within. By the time it comes out, they are shocked. They accuse you of holding on to things. They tell you they never asked you to keep score. And technically, they are right. You kept the score alone. And a score you keep alone is a score no one else will ever settle. The problem is not that you are keeping score. The problem is that you are keeping it silently, in your head, in the dark, with no way for the other person to know they are falling behind. If you actually want the imbalance to correct, you have to make it visible, not through complaint, not through emotional confrontation, through simple, direct communication in the moment. When someone asks for the fourth favor without ever returning the first three, you can name it plainly. I have helped you with X, Y, and Z, and I am at capacity right now. Can I count on you when I need help next? That kind of directness feels risky at first because you have been trained to keep the score hidden to avoid seeming petty. But hidden scores are exactly why users continue to use. They do not experience the debt. They only experience the arrival of the next favor. Once the debt becomes visible, they either honor it or reveal themselves as a person who never intended to. Either result gives you clarity. Silence gives you nothing but slow resentment. Machiavelli advised that a person who gives without expectation and then complains privately when nothing is returned is the architect of their own bitterness, because they built the terms of the relationship in secret. That is what most silent scorekeepers do. They set unspoken terms, watch those terms get violated, and blame the other person for not meeting standards they were never told existed. The other person is often not evil. They are just responding to what the exchange has been trained to look like. The practice is to stop tracking in silence. If you are giving, either give freely, without expectation, or communicate clearly about reciprocity. There is no middle ground that works. The middle ground is the silent scorekeeper, and the silent scorekeeper always loses. Because you are playing a game that only you know is being played, and no one wins a game they were never invited to. Now type these words in the comments. My scoreboard is visible or gone. Number 7. Stop being available for people who are only available for their own needs. There is one specific person in your life right now who almost perfectly represents this problem. When they need something, they reach out. When they are upset, they call. When they have a problem, they show up at your door. But when you have needed something, they were busy. When you were upset, they were distant. When you had a problem, they were unreachable. This is not accidental. This is the exact shape of a one-way relationship, and you have kept showing up on your side of it for years, hoping the other side would eventually appear. It has not. It is not going to. The hardest part of ending being used is accepting that some people were never going to become mutual. They were not going through a phase. They were not just bad at reciprocating. They were designed, over years, to consume without returning. And every time you show up for them, you are reinforcing the exact dynamic that made you usable to them in the first place. The relationship does not need better communication. It needs the withdrawal of your availability. That withdrawal is the only thing that will reveal what the relationship actually was. Notice how quickly this filter works. When you become less available to someone who has been using you, one of two things happens. They notice and adjust, showing up more for you, trying to rebalance the exchange, or they disappear entirely, revealing that your availability was the only thing keeping them present. Both outcomes are useful. The first tells you the relationship is worth investing in. The second tells you the relationship was never mutual to begin with. Either way, you gain clarity that years of hoping and giving could never provide. Most people avoid this test because they are afraid of the second outcome. They do not want to discover that someone they cared about was only present for the transaction, but that discovery is not a loss. It is the removal of a long-running illusion. The relationship you thought you had was not the relationship that existed. You were maintaining a fantasy through your constant availability. The moment you stopped maintaining it, the fantasy dissolved. What is left is the truth. And you cannot build a real life on top of fantasies that require your constant effort to sustain. Machiavelli advised that a person who wants to know the true nature of another must observe them when they have nothing to gain from the observation, because presence, in the absence of benefit, is the only reliable proof of loyalty. That is exactly what withdrawing your availability reveals. The people who stay when you have nothing to give are the people who were actually in a relationship with you. The people who disappear were in a relationship with what you provided. Those are two completely different things, and it is important to know which one you had. The practice is not to announce a change or make a scene. It is to quietly become less available. You do not answer as quickly. You do not offer as freely. You do not rearrange your life to accommodate their needs. You simply live your life at your own pace, showing up for the relationships that show up for you, and letting the others feel the natural weight of their own imbalance. Some will leave, some will stay and change. Both are victories, because the people who remain will be the ones actually worth remaining for, and the ones who leave were never truly there. Now drop this affirmation in the comments. I only pour into those who pour back. Now that you have understand what actually happened over the last 20 minutes, you did not just learn 7 tips. You learned the exact architecture that has been quietly turning you into a resource for other people. Each mechanism was operating in you before this video started. Each one has been in effect for years, and each one gets weaker the moment you can identify it clearly. Being used is not a personality trait. It is a set of trained behaviors, fast responses, long explanations, preemptive help, constant apologies, trained guilt, silent scorekeeping, unlimited availability for people who give nothing back. Take away those behaviors, and being used becomes almost impossible, because using someone requires the raw materials of use. When you stop supplying the raw materials, the industry that was built around consuming you shuts down, not slowly, almost immediately. Here is the part almost nobody prepares you for. When you stop being usable, some people will get angry. They will call you distant. They will accuse you of changing. They will say they do not recognize you anymore. That reaction is not a sign that you are doing something wrong. It is a sign that you were doing exactly what they needed you to do, and now you are not. Their anger is not about your character. It is about their inconvenience. Do not confuse the two. Machiavelli advised that a person who ends the arrangement that others built around them will always be accused of betrayal, because the people who benefited from the arrangement never saw it as an arrangement. They saw it as who you were. You changing what you allow is not a betrayal. It is a correction. It is the restoration of a balance that never existed in the first place. And the people who cannot accept the correction were the ones benefiting most from the imbalance. The real question is not whether you can apply these 7 shifts. You can. The real question is whether you will apply them starting today, before the resistance has time to talk you out of them. Because a weak boundary is not a boundary. A boundary that only exists in your head does not stop anyone. It only stops you from complaining about being used. The people around you cannot read your intentions. They can only respond to your behavior. Change the behavior, and the response changes with it. Choose one shift, the one that hit you the hardest as you were listening. Apply it today, not next week, not after you have thought about it more. Today. Because the users in your life are not thinking about it, they are already preparing the next request, the next favor, the next demand on your time. The only thing between them and another year of using you is the shift you choose to apply before they reach out again. Now answer this in the comments. Which of these 7 was the one being used against you the most? Number 1, number 2, number 3, all the way through 7. Type the number. That number is the pattern you close today.